When you think of the word practice, what comes to mind? Welcome to the next lesson in Mastering Workplace Performance Online. And you know, when I was growing up, my mom used to tell me, Jason, practice makes perfect. And I would do things rotely and over and over and over again. And one of the things that I've realized in the past several years of my own life is practice doesn't make perfect nearly as much as it makes comfortable. In our seminars, we often talk about the idea that practice makes habit. Practice makes repeatable. Practice makes easy to do again. So what we're going to do is we're going to step back a little bit, and of all of the activities I do in my coaching and my seminars in this Workplace Performance Online program is to take a look at what you're already doing to identify what you could be doing differently, more effectively, or just better. And so let's dive in. You've got a handout that goes along with this lesson. You're going to want to print that out or at least sketch some things out on a blank piece of paper. The idea here is to dive in and identify 3 areas relative to your productivity that will give you the information you need to, again, address those most important things. Now, if you reflect back a little bit at the beginning of this program, we talked about the 3 main influencers to your productivity, right? We talked about homeostasis, we talked about context, we talked about your network. This activity here, this next lesson, is really designed to have you explore what's already going on, what you're already using, how you're already working. Because quite frankly, before we change anything, we really have to have a clear, very distinct and exact view of what you're already doing. You know, the easiest way to do this next activity is to just get a video camera and put it off to one of your shoulders and actually videotape yourself working for an hour or 2. All kinds of information will come forward. So, I set you up, I gave you a PDF. What you're going to do is print that PDF out, and there's 3 inventories that you're going to want to dive into. The first one is to identify, and I would say pick a time. Generally, my first coaching on this is 11 o'clock in the morning. Now that time may change depending on your workflow, your habits, etc. But let's just take that as a starting point. By 11 o'clock most work day mornings. Now I'm just taking Monday through Friday for most of the people watching this. That's going to be their general work week. By 11 o'clock in the morning, I need you to identify what you pretty much always do. Right? You always take what kind of transportation into work. You always talk to the same couple of people as soon as you get in the office. You always check what inboxes when you start your day. What are the things that are already in motion, on cruise control? What are the things that you have practiced so many times, it's habit and it's comfortable? Now what'll wind up happening, this is going to take a week by the way, what'll wind up happening is you're going to find that there's probably anywhere between 20 and 40 things every day by the time you get to 11 o'clock in the morning that you're already spending your time, your energy, your focus doing. Now, if you've ever ended a day and you've looked back on that day and you said, oh, I didn't have enough time to get everything done that I wanted to get done. Well, the only option that I know of, the only way around that or to address that is to take a look at what you're doing out of habit, to take a look at what you're doing out of practice, and one of 3 things. Either delete it, don't do it anymore, combine it, see if you can do 2 of those at once, or delegate it to something or someone else. Stay tuned because in the next half of this video, I'm going to give you some examples of those 3. All right, the next inventory. What are the tools? What is the gear that you rely on to get your work done every day, right? Email, voicemail, phone, text messaging, papers, files, meetings. What are all of the resources that you use in order to get your work done? And what you'll do here is you'll create that inventory, and I would say get at least 12. Get at least 12 tools, pieces of gear, systems that you rely on to get your work done. Go through that list, put a star next to the ones that you know really well, the things that you can do extremely well. You know how to make a pivot table in Excel. You know how to blast through your email more effectively than most people that you know. And then put a check next to the things that if you knew how that worked a little bit more, you'd wind up saving a lot of time every day. What is the tool? What is the piece of gear? What is the system that you could learn just a little bit more about? Okay, number 3. What I want you to do is to make an inventory of the things that you could do about once a month that would invite in rejuvenation and revitalization of your goals, your objectives, and your outcomes. Make a list of 12 and then look at that inventory every month for the next 5 months. Remember that 5-day experiment that we talked about? Well, there's 5-day experiments, there's 5-week experiments. This one's a 5-month experiment. Stay tuned, there's a little bit more that I want to talk about, but you have enough information to get going with this assignment. I look forward to reading about what you have to say in the forums. I'll see you soon. Absolutely delighted that you have a little bit more time. So what I want to do is I want to dive in, take another 8 or 9 minutes, and give you a little bit of the backstory and then some of the things you can do relative to this lesson. Now, that PDF that you're going to print out, up on the top it says Practice Makes, and then in that white space there, what you can start to do is to create the things that you are already practicing, that you're already doing. Remember, the whole idea of this lesson is before we start making radical changes to your performance, your productivity, your organization, let's first identify what's already on cruise control, what's already comfortable for you. So if practice makes habit, if practice makes comfortable, and by the way, those are the decisions that you get to make as a result of this activity. When we take a look at that first inventory, what have you had done? What have you had focused on? What have you had engaged in by 11 o'clock in the morning most days? Again, reminder, that 11 o'clock is arbitrary. For some of you, it might need to be 7 o'clock in the morning. For some of you, it might need to be 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It all depends on your workflow and your habits. I just say, out of the gate, why don't we choose 11 o'clock in the morning? So, if you wake up at anywhere in the 6 to 7 o'clock hour, let's just take that as a starting point. Say I wake up at 6:15. What I'll do for the next 5 days is I'll keep track of and write down what are the things between 6:15 when I wake up and 11 o'clock in the morning that I do habitually, that I do over and over again, that are very comfortable because I've practiced them so many times. What inboxes do I check? Who do I talk to? What meetings do I attend? What websites do I visit? Where do I go? All those kinds of things. The key question, what takes my time, my energy, and my focus in the first half of my day? Now, once you create that inventory, and don't be surprised, but it's usually going to be anywhere between 20 and 40 things as a result of working with most of our clients. Those 20 to 40 things are the things that take your time. So, if you want more time in your day, we need to address those 20 to 40 items. What can I delete, stop doing? What can I combine, do 2 of at once? And what can I delegate to someone or something else? An example of deleting, I found years ago that if I'm getting an idea in my head, that idea needs to go out via blog, via article, via email, get into my system somehow. I can write that idea down. I can write in about 20 words a minute. I can type the idea out of my head. I can type at about 40 to 50 words a minute. I can talk that idea out of my head. I can talk at about 80 to 100 words a minute. I use a service called Recall. Many of you have heard me talk about this. I'll give you the website, REQALL.com. Recall.com does a lot of things to help me with my memory, right? I can park something for a calendar item. I can park something for a to-do list item. And the Recall service will transcribe what it is that I'm thinking. So, here I have deleted having to write things down. I've combined thinking with writing, and I've delegated to a tool, to a system, that work of having to take the idea, construct it into a typewritten sentence, and then email that into my system. Another example of delegating, deleting, and combining, I do a lot of research. I research companies, I research my clients, I research events, I research cities, and what I do is I use Google Alerts And if you just go into Google and you go into the More tab and then you click on the Even More tab, you'll find a service called Google Alerts. And let's say that I want to follow a particular event. I want to follow some seminar, a conference, a speaker, a writer, or anything. What I'll do is I'll type into that service, Google Alerts, the search terms that I'm interested in. Then every morning I get one email with anywhere in the world that that item has been mentioned in print, in magazines, online, in blogs, etc. Okay, that's second inventory. What are the tools and what are the systems? What is the gear that you rely on a regular basis? I remember the first time I did this, I wrote things down like BlackBerry, digital camera, email, Outlook, Microsoft Excel, Word. Over on the Apple side, I use iWeb, I use Pages. And what I found that I realized was there were a lot of systems that I was using the way I knew how to use them. I'll always remember, in my seminars, if you've seen one of my seminars, I often put up little videos. I'll take a 15 or a 20-minute video, I'll cut that down to 90 seconds, maybe 180 seconds. That's it. I don't want to show a whole long video. Well, I was telling a friend of mine about how I would splice and cut and combine, and I would do these little things with the video. And in one conversation, she showed me a couple of things that I could do that took minutes out of that editing process. In fact, what used to take me about 45 to 60 minutes of taking a 20-minute video, carving that down to about a 90-second clip, that used to take me about 45 to 60 minutes, I've got it down now to about 15 minutes. Just by sharing with somebody the systems and tools that I used and then opening myself up to ideas that could further that mission with less time, less energy, less effort, I wound up winning. All right, that third inventory. What can you do that invites in rest, relaxation? I'm using more and more today the words rejuvenation and revitalization. Rejuvenation, right? From that word juvenile, right? That youth. Not youth in age, but youth in spirit. Like, what got me engaged in this in the first place? What rejuvenates me? Just a couple of weeks ago, I volunteered some time at a local high school, and I got to speak to 4 different audiences on entrepreneurship and sales and marketing and branding yourself. And I was sharing with the students that, starting at 14, 15, 16 years old with your first part-time job, with your first summer internship, we already are branding ourselves, not just our identity to the world, but our identity to ourselves. That rejuvenation or revitalization, right? Vitae, bringing life back to whatever it is that you were doing. And I remember when I was talking to these students just a little while ago, I found myself uber engaged. And at the end of a day, after talking to 150 students over 4 different sections, my thinking was, boy, I'm going to be tired at the end of the day. In fact, I wasn't. In fact, I was more energized at the end of that day, realizing that part of what's interesting to me, part of what moves me forward, is sharing information in an influential way. How do I know that? Because I went back to my what do I do on about a monthly basis to relax, re-engage, rejuvenate, and revitalize. And in that inventory, I put things down like volunteer, coach, and mentor. So this inventory, relative to your productivity and your performance, lends itself to a fantastic experiment. In this page, you have built in a 5-day, 5-week, and 5-month experiment. 5-day experiment. That's that top part here. What I'll ask you to do is to come up with the inventory. What are you doing by 11 o'clock most mornings? And then every day for the next 5 days, you look at that inventory and you ask yourself, what can I delete? What can I delegate? What can I combine? All right, the next one down here, the tools, systems, gear that you rely on once a week. Maybe if you're watching this video on a Tuesday, for the next 5 Tuesdays, stop and ask yourself, is there a part of a piece of gear, is there a part of a system, is there part of a product that if I knew a little bit more about, I'd wind up saving a lot of time every day? That's a 5-week experiment. And then of course, at the bottom of the page, this lends itself extremely well to a 5-month experiment. Come up with 12 things that you could do Invite in rest, relaxation, rejuvenation, and then look at each one of those about once a month and ask yourself, in the next 30 days, what could I do to get one of those, to move on one of those, to engage in one of those? I've got lots of examples. I can share with you one of my current 5-month experiments. Just email me and I'll tell you a little bit about that. In fact, in the month of May 2011, I'm going to be organizing a weekend revitalization rejuvenation here in Ojai. If you're interested in coming to that, please let me know. I can give you all the details. And go get in, dive into this lesson. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye. Might want to start by printing out that inventory. I'll give you a link to it. Print that out, carry it with you for the next 5, 10, 15 days. See what happens. I look forward to reading what you think on the forums. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.